And all of a sudden, we saw AlexNet, this new algorithm that is completely different than computer vision algorithms before it, take a giant leap in terms of capability for computer vision. And when we saw that, it was partly out of interest, but partly because we were struggling with something ourselves. And so we were highly interested to want to see it work. And so when we looked at AlexNet, we were inspired by that. But the big breakthrough, I would say, is when we saw AlexNet, we asked ourselves, how far can AlexNet go? If it can do this with computer vision, how far can it go? And if it could go to the limits of what we think it could go, the type of problems it could solve, what would it mean for the computer industry, and what would it mean for the computer architecture? And we rightfully reasoned that if machine learning, if these deep learning architecture can scale, the vast majority of machine learning problems could be represented with deep neural networks. And the type of problems we could solve with machine learning is so vast that it has the potential of reshaping the computer industry altogether, and which prompted us to re-engineer the entire computing stack, which is where DGX came from, and this little baby DGX sitting here. All of this came from that observation that we ought to reinvent the entire computing stack layer by layer by layer. Computers, after 65 years since IBM System 360 introduced modern general purpose computing, we've reinvented computing as we know it.
To think about this as a whole story. So parallel processing reinvents modern gaming and revolutionizes an entire industry. Then that way of computing, that parallel processing, begins to be used across different industries. You invest in that by building CUDA. And then CUDA and the use of GPUs allows for a step change in neural networks and machine learning, and begins a sort of revolution that we're now seeing only increase in importance today.
All of a sudden, computer vision is solved. All of a sudden, speech recognition is solved. All of a sudden, language understanding is solved. These incredible problems associated with intelligence, one by one by one by one, where we had no solutions for in the past, desperate desire to have solutions for, all of a sudden, one after another gets solved, every couple of years. It's incredible.
Yeah, so you're seeing that in 2012. You're looking ahead and believing that that's the future that you're going to be living in now. And you're making bets that get you there, really big bets that have very high stakes. And then my perception as a layperson is that it takes a pretty long time to get there. You make these bets.
10 years.
So my question is, if AlexNet happened in 2012, and this audience is probably seeing and hearing so much more about AI and NVIDIA specifically 10 years later, why did it take a decade? And also, because you had placed those bets, what did the middle of that decade feel like for you?
Well, that's a good question.